became Olympic champion in 1976. I was the only gold medal winner in a track and field event, an individual event, and in the Olympic Games. And it was probably because during that time, the Russians, the East Germans, it was Cold War back then, the Bulgarians, the Yugoslavians, all the East Bloc were systematically doping, similar to what we hear about in today's world with the Russian scenario in Sochi. Um, to me, that was a form of abuse. It was a form of abuse because for me, when I was in college, if I found a track and I had to jump fences every day at some high school or some college, go around town, see if there was a track meet, maybe go to 3 or 4 places, and then some days wouldn't even work out, have a place to train. So for me to go to the Olympic Games with that kind of backdrop and then seeing in 1976, and I don't know if many of you have ever gone back and done the research on the East German swimmers and the Russian weightlifters and the shot putters. Um, American women won very few medals in 1976 in track and field. Got really blasted out in swimming, gymnastics, almost everything because systematic doping. I thought it was something that was really beyond my comprehension. Being half everyone hates Chris and half everyone half Urkel, going to Morehouse College where you had nothing and had to struggle to get a track. For me, the whole concept of doping was just unbelievable. It just never got to me. So when it comes to this evening, I personally thought that was a form of abuse. And it's a form of abuse that's done deliberately by some of these sporting organizations. I happen to be gave up my chairmanship of the United States Anti-Doping Agency, so I'm very much on the front lines in terms of fighting for the rights of athletes to have a fair and level playing field for your cousins, sisters, and brothers and not have to be in a sport where, as Lance Armstrong would say it, everyone's doing it, everyone's cheating, I'm just the best cheater out there. I don't think that's acceptable whatsoever. I was a group of athletes that formed the first out-of-competition drug testing program here in the United States in the sport of track and field, where we demanded it because our event was being affected the most. Thank God we didn't go to the Olympics in 1980 and we boycotted because we would have gotten blown out of the water. After what we saw in 1976, and I was the only gold medalist in a running event, and there were 3 others, Mac Wilkins in the discus throw, a guy named Arnie Robinson from San Diego State in the long jump, and who we knew then as Bruce Jenner in the decathlon. There was only 4 of us, and I was the only one in an individual running event. And it was we just got blown out of the water. It was definitely going to happen in 1980. The fact that we boycotted probably and the Olympic Committee was not the Olympic Committee that it is today. They probably had maybe a million, a couple of $1 million in the bank, and it was run by Army generals. It was not this big infrastructure. So that's kind of where I come from in terms of being a person on this stage and fighting for athletes' rights. And also, when you talk about being abused, back in the 80s, talking about and being one of the first athletes to be vocal about amateurism and bringing amateur sports, turning it into a professional sport through the Olympic committees and IOC. I was one of the people who was on the front line. When it comes to drug testing, I can tell you I've got knife stab wounds, bullet holes, burn marks and everything from fighting that battle going back to the 80s. And it's been a form of personal torture. I've lost income, been kicked off of almost everything from the Olympic Committee, IOC, my international federation, been kicked off drug control committees, but I came back to be the chairman of the United States Anti-Doping and be the chairman in charge when the Lance Armstrong case was in effect, the Alberto Salazar case, which you just have been reading about in the last days, and also with the Russians and how they cheated in Sochi. I've been a very big, I would say, antagonist at the WADA, at the World Anti-Doping Agency, one of the people who's really been holding their feet to the fire against the Russians for cheating everyone out of Olympic Games and cheating to this day in a systematic way. So I think that's my general story as to why I'm here tonight, to understand what kind of mental abuse, and I didn't have any physical abuse. I've been threatened. I've had my phones tapped and everything else by the Fancy Bear and the same people that break into all the servers. They, track us. And you were just telling me yesterday about the precautions you had at the event in Colorado about doing nothing but good in sports, that you have to be worried about being spied on and intelligence people around. So, that's the extent of my
Understood. Yeah.
abuse.